Thank you. There's no card in there.
Wise ass.
Hey, just want to laugh a little bit. And all right, so this is Steve playing the guitar, and it's gonna be scenes one, guitar playing in 3, 2. You lift up the. There we go. Thank you. In 3, 2, 1, in action.
Is that enough?
Let's do it one more time. Let's do a second take.
And let's do like less time. Is there any way, maybe like, is there any way we can cue you when we want you to start singing?
Yeah.
Do you want me to go into the song?
Yeah.
Don't start.
Oh, I thought that was going to be a separate take.
That's good. That was
Yeah.
good.
Don't start until until say action, and give me at least 3 seconds.
Action 1, 2, 3, and okay.
Yeah, because I was a little concerned about
Okay.
Joanne, but I think she was
Okay.
okay. And then,
It's called living in the moment.
do you want me to cue him to start?
And do you want me to look up? Because I'm just looking down the whole
No,
time.
no. Just do your thing. I don't want
Okay.
you to look at the camera.
I won't look at the camera.
So
Okay.
how can about 30, much shorter than last time? This time,
Okay.
start singing. Go
Do you want me
right
to
into
do the whole
song.
song? Because I'm needed.
No, just do the whole song. Yeah.
If I can remember it. If I can remember the whole thing right now, I might need you to tape the words out in front of me if I'm going to do that at some point.
Okay. Do me a favor. Give Mary Lou the paper, and she will be holding it up just in case you need a reference. I don't know if you can see from the distance,
Without my glasses on, I don't know if I can do it. I don't want to wear
but-
my
and I can see
glasses.
your hands, Mary Lou. You gotta be really careful so I can see your hands.
Because that's a wide angle bottom camera.
Can
Okay.
you see this?
No, it's not going to do me any good.
And you
though.
can't see any of the coach with me on it on the little
No.
camera.
So he can't see this.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't know I was going to be doing this, or I would have practiced.
I don't know if
I had
it's
no
anything
idea.
either. It's all right. I mean,
Well, I'll try my best to get through the whole thing. You're not going to use the whole thing anyway.
no.
So if I have to stop and do the second verse, you can two-shot this kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah. So I don't have to.
You don't need to hold it. You don't need to hold it.
Of course, wait for me to do this before you start.
Yeah.
So
Get out of
about
the scene.
30
So you want me to
seconds
play? Let me play an intro about 30 seconds and then start playing the song.
20,
Okay.
30 seconds
Okay.
and then go to the song.
Okay.
Wait for me
Okay.
to sit over here. 'cause
All
these
right.
are
This
wide
is gonna
angle.
be Steve playing guitar. Scenes 1, take 2. In 3, 2, 1. Can you clap? Let's do it again, please. When I say 3, 2, 1, you clap, and then I say action, and then he's gonna go in. And again, Steve playing guitar. This is scene 1, take 3. In 3, 2, 1, action.
No more struggle, no more pain. Don't wanna go home, those are just material things. Feels so good to finally be at peace. You've answered all my prayers, and my soul has been released. And I'm living in the moment. There's nothing I have to do. There's nothing to remember, and I'm glad to be here with you. And there's such a simple feeling now, I wish you could see it. How my chains have been broken, and I've been set free, free. Cared for you for so long now. There's no more I can do, and I have to live again. This is so sad, I have to go. I love you so much, but it's time for me to go. And you're living in the moment, there's nothing I have to do. There's nothing to remember, but I'm glad to be here with you. And there's such a simple feeling, no, I wish you could see it. How my chains have been broken, and I've been set free, free. I've been set free. Now it's time for me to go. Oh, I hear those angels, they're calling me home. And you've done more than any husband should. You've answered all my prayers, and I always knew you would. My spirit's in the moment, there's nothing I have to do. There's nothing to remember, but I'm glad to be here with you. And there's such a lovely feeling, oh, I wish you could see that my chains have been broken, and I've been set free, free. I've been set free.
So, if you want to start the questioning, it's fine.
Do you want me to put the guitar down?
If you want to just have the guitar in there, it's
Okay.
fine. You know what I mean? Because I think it's like pretty much.
Gives it. Okay, fine. Whatever you think.
Do you want it on that paper towel, Miguel?
So the first question we're gonna talk about, and if you could try to say the opening line similar to what you said, and the last line similar.
To what I said in what?
In the first interview. I'm gonna
I
try
have
that.
no
I'm
idea
gonna
what it
tell
was.
you.
Oh, you're gonna. Okay, that's good.
I have
I thought
everything-
you wanted me to remember.
No, I have everything you said. So the first question, and you could change the middle, but to go in and out of the transitions. Your mother's care was intense, including the amount of medication she had to take. Tell us about that. And last time you said she had all these meds she had to take. You know, I want that same, you know.
Okay, yeah, but just say what I said,
And,
right?
and they were all in a drawer, and she had to take them, and then she had to take them, and my mom would forget, and I would say, "Do you know what meds you're taking?" It was like all over the place. So
Okay.
the opening line, she had all these meds she had to take, and the last line, it was all over the place.
Okay.
So
So you're going to ask the question?
last question, yeah.
Okay, this is gonna be question number 1. Steve, question number 1, scene 1, take 1, in 3, 2, 1, action.
Your mother had all this medication she had to take, and it got pretty intense at times. Tell us about that.
Well, she had all this medication she had to take, and it was in these drawers in her bedroom, in her bathroom next to her bedroom. And I'd like go in there sometimes and open it up, and there's just like, you know, all kinds of stuff. I had no idea what it all was, and I asked my dad what it was, and they were for all different kinds of things. Some of them were dementia, some of them were other things. I had no idea she was even taking that much medication. And I would, you know, often say, "Mom, did you take your medicine?" And my dad would jump in and said, "Oh, I have it for her," and we'd try to organize it, and they'd have it in different places. But it was kind of all over the place. It was kind of a mess, actually.
That was good.
Was that close
So
to?
that's
Is that
Yeah,
close?
Close.
Miguel, gonna make a suggestion?
It was a
You-
little longer than the first
Yeah.
time.
Oh.
Yeah, just.
We may do it one more time.
Let's go one more time, but this time you don't fly through the answer. Just, you know what I mean?
Don't fly through the answer.
Yeah, just, you know what I mean?
Just a little bit, maybe a little bit more conversational.
Yes.
Which I think is what. And I love the hand movements. I love the
Okay.
the emotion.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah, you are the person
You're
that
very
brings.
animated.
Yeah,
Right.
you're
Was
like,
I not animated enough?
Well, last time it was
I was
like,
more animated.
Oh
she had all
yeah.
these meds she had to take. You were like, you know, because you were like so frustrated about the amount of medicine I think she had to take. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying to be
Okay.
over dramatic, but
No,
just
but
be
but the
yourself.
last time I did this, I was in a very different place than I am now.
Yeah,
actually.
Really?
you feel very well. This is home.
Well, yeah, I'm home, and
Does his hair look okay?
Yeah,
there-
it looks fine.
there was
Did I do something?
This-
Should he?
there was a lot of other shit going on with my brothers and my father too, actually, at that time.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's better you get it out of your system than we hear it in the microphone. Right? Just blow away, baby.
So,
Okay.
All right, so
Go
we're
ahead.
gonna take it one more time.
yep.
Okay,
Be yourself.
So, it opens with
She had all these
the-
meds she had to
she had all these meds she had to take, and it ends with it was kind of a mess.
It was all over the place.
It was all over the place.
And
it was all
he
over
is
the place.
he is a fast talker by nature. She had all these meds all
Okay,
over the
I'll
place.
I'll try to slow down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want you to be yourself.
Yeah,
Okay,
be
okay,
yourself.
Okay,
Because you are just
it was all over.
perfect the way you are.
okay. It's gonna be scene question 1. Scene 1, take 2, 3, 2, 1.
Your
Action.
mother had all this medication she had to take, and it got pretty intense. Tell us about that.
Well, there was all these different medications she had to take, and it was in the drawer in her bathroom next to the bedroom. And I didn't have any idea what it was like at first. And I went and I opened the drawer and I saw all of this medicine. It was really kind of crazy. And it was like, because I never take any medicine. And so it was kind of overwhelming when I tried to ask her what she'd taken her medicine and was she, you know, on point with what she was supposed to do. And I talked to my dad about it. But it was kind of all over the place.
Great.
Good. Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, what's different this time is last time you just asked questions and we didn't stop. We didn't put
Right.
takes between everything.
Right.
So
And
So
I
we've
need,
already edited a lot of this. Now we're going back to put your answers back in.
right. No, I get it. I'm
Yeah,
fine.
so we're trying.
No,
I'm
no, I
trying
get
to
it.
make them
no,
fit as best I can, but I want you
It's
to be
fine.
as natural as possible. So
Okay.
this next question, just to give you the background, describe your mother when your father met her, and you said you know,
Describe my mother.
when your mother met her. And the reason why I wrote this is because of the way you started the answer. And you said, she was, this is the key sentence here, a debutante, gorgeous blonde woman living in New York City. And my dad was a nerd science guy.
Right.
that became
Great.
a minister.
that was great.
I mean, it was like the captain of the cheerleaders dating the nerd. It was this completely opposite kind of. I mean, we loved when you came up.
Yeah,
because
'cause
you
you-
had it just, boom. So
Yeah.
you said,
Yeah, Tim and Pete are much more,
Never compare yourself.
Sedate.
You are
You're all
good.
different. You all bring
You know what?
something to it.
Yeah, your element's important.
Okay,
But
so
again,
do I have to
it's
say it exactly the same way?
No, but the
Read
key-
that one more time.
she was, a debutante,
gor-
gorgeous blonde living in New York City. And my
Right.
dad was a nerd science
This-
guy. I
right.
became a minister. I mean, as if it was like the captain of the cheerleaders dating the nerd. It was this completely opposite kind of thing.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Steve, scenes 2, answer number 2, take 1. 3, 2, 1, action.
Describe your mother when your dad met her.
Well, so my mother was this gorgeous blonde, like woman that lived in New York City, debutante. She worked at Exxon as an executive secretary. And my dad was this nerd science guy, that went to Lehigh. And then he became a minister. And they were like as different as you could possibly be. I still don't understand what my mom possibly could have seen in my dad. But they met, as I understand, they met at a church. So the one thing that they did really have in common was religion at whatever level they were at the time. And my dad was, like a junior minister or something. But she was living the life. She was out dancing. She was like living. She saw every Broadway show a number of years in a row in New York City. My dad was from the suburbs, also from New Jersey. So it was completely different kinds of person that they somehow found this connection. But opposites attract sometimes, I guess.
Okay, I like that, and that's a keeper, but I want you to do it a little shorter.
Okay.
And
Is his hair okay? Would you look at his
The
hair?
hair is fine.
I think
okay.
it's fine. I can see the monitor right here.
You want me to say
Is
less?
this
Say
question
less.
two?
Because I was just trying to be, it's just.
But that's good stuff. Maybe we'll use it. But let's try to stick a little bit closer to this. She was a debutante, gorgeous blonde woman living in New York City, and my dad was a nerd science guy that became a minister. I mean, as if it was like the captain of the cheerleaders.
Oh, I
dating
didn't get the
nerd.
captain of the cheerleader.
It
You want me to
was
say
just-
that exact thing?
It would be great.
Yeah.
Because I love the first time you said it.
Okay,
It
so
was- and
part
then
of being
you went to-
dyslexic is I'm not good at like memorizing
and I get
things.
it.
Okay,
Don't
But
worry.
it
Well,
doesn't
here,
have to be
well, then-
exact.
Here.
get my glasses. If I had realized you wanted me to do this, you could have, if you'd sent it to me in
Yeah, but
advance.
then I don't want it to sound
these are
scripted
Gabriel's.
either.
Um,
You know?
yeah, but it's gonna sound scripted because you're asking me to say an exact thing.
Just the first and this particular.
Yeah, but
answer
that's
is so
that's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
long line. I mean, I
just
can
love-
do it. It's just this is gonna take a bunch of takes to
just
get this
the
right.
Key things you got to remember: debutante blonde,
Captain of
living
the cheerleading
living
team.
in New York City, and my dad was, the science
What?
nerd.
Nerd geek.
Well,
So you like the fact that I said twice?
you don't have to say twice.
Yeah.
I just wrote it down the way exactly the way you said it. But it was so. It's the way you talk, which
You were
I like about
compelling.
it.
You were funny.
Right, but it's hard to be that compelling when I'm trying to now script it like it's not
Yeah,
real.
that's why I was worried about this. But I think you're doing fine. You're doing great.
a debutante, gorgeous blonde woman living in
Yeah,
New York
like-
City. My dad was a nerd scientist guy that became a minister. Wow.
In his glasses.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Oh, wait. So let me just say it now a couple times and then. Do that again.
She was a gorgeous, a debutante.
She was a debutante.
Gorgeous.
She was a she was she was a debutante, gorgeous. She was a she was a debutante, gorgeous blonde. She was a debutante, gorgeous blonde girl.
Living in New York.
She was a she was a gorgeous blonde debutante woman living in New York City, and my dad was a nerd science guy. It was like
Bless you.
Okay.
it was like
This
it was
is gonna be a problem.
it was like
What?
Because, again, if you ask him that question, he's probably going to give it to you and probably slightly different.
That's
But
fine. I don't
but
mind if it's slightly
yeah,
different.
be-
I
you know,
don't mind
because-
if it's slightly different. So don't feel
Because,
like
but it's gonna be have this almost the same content. You know
I
what
think that the only thing I really would like you to say is the debutante, gorgeous blonde woman.
And the
living in New
captain
York
of the
City.
cheerleader and the nerd science.
Yeah,
guy.
the captain of the cheerleader meets the nerd scientist. That's like such a
Yeah.
dramatic.
Well-
And then in the end, you just sum it up by saying it was completely opposite kind of thing.
Okay.
That's
Let me
that's
try.
the gist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Okay. You got this.
Okay, this is gonna be scene number 2. Take 2 in 3, 2, 1, action.
Describe your mother when your father met her.
So my mom was this gorgeous debutante blonde woman living in New York City, and my dad was this nerd science guy. I mean, it was like the cheerleader captain, meeting the nerd science guy from school. I mean, it was completely opposite in every possible way you could think of. But somehow they met and they made it work because the one thing they had in common was religion.
Love it. Perfect.
That was flawless.
This
that
next one's
was
going to be
really
easy because the only thing, just start out with, she loved him desperately and say whatever else you want to say.
Okay, is this? You gotta
What?
tell me
This
your
is-
question.
Question.
Different. Okay,
Question
I need
3.
to know that. Yeah.
Question
That's
3.
question 4.
What's the question?
Do you think your parents were in love?
And do you have a certain answer you want me to give?
You just start, if you can just start out with,
What?
she loved him desperately, I don't care what you say after that.
Okay, this is gonna be Steve. Scene 3. Take 1. 3, 2, 1.
Do you think your parents were in love?
Yes. My mom loved my dad desperately. I mean, I don't think had ever been exposed to anybody that was like him from a spiritual way. And I think that's one thing that did connect them because they were so different in so many ways. And she lived this debutante life, which is probably pretty shallow. And my dad was a pretty deep kind of guy, and she was crazy about him.
Perfect. Okay.
New question.
Question 4.
You can go over it with him. While
I'm just basically, this is can you give me an example of their love for each other? If there's anything that stands out?
What did I say?
You didn't, it was just something that I added.
Oh, this is a new question. What is the question again?
Can you give me an example of their love or something that maybe you as a son just
Yeah, because when we did this before, you just turned the camera on and you asked the questions and you didn't stop
We
between each
didn't
one. So everything was just on.
Right,
Okay, on the tape itself.
yeah.
Right.
sorry about this, but
Okay, so what's the question one more time?
Just can you give me an example of how much they loved each other?
How much they loved
I
each
don't know
other.
if there's something that, maybe the fact that she followed him everywhere, I don't know, but,
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Ready? Okay, this is gonna be question 4, scenes 4. Take 1 in 3, 2, 1.
can you give me an example of their love for each other?
Well, they loved each other in lots of different ways, but I think their love for their kids was a great way of showing it. And we went to Europe when I was 5 and Pete was 7 and Tim was 10 months old on a freighter, for 10 days across the Atlantic, and then got a VW bug and drove all over Europe and lived in Switzerland for a year. And she had to deal with a lot, and she was like, she speaks of it in such fond memory now. It's something, they traveled, they were young, but they had 3 kids in there. I mean, I would never think of trying to do something like that now. But, she loved him so much, and he loved her, obviously, that they were willing. I mean, there was no, struggle in deciding if they wanted to do it. Obviously, they enjoyed it. And I have very fond memories of it, too, because of it.
That's great. That was one of my other questions. Now, one thing that I hear is him tapping the guitar. Is that a problem,
Oh,
Miguel?
It's okay.
It's okay. Okay, just checking.
I'll try not to do that.
The guitar is all part of it.
tell me when
Yeah.
you go into the next question first.
I
Mary.
love that answer, so I'm good. I'm going to go to the next one, which is number 5. Okay, this is a new question because
Okay.
this is something I got after we were in the editing because we used Peter's answer. And that is, do you remember standing behind a door with your brother Peter and listening to your parents fighting? And Peter saying, I think Mom's crazy. Do you remember that as a little boy?
This is Pete telling you this?
Yeah, Pete said it.
No. So it's really interesting. Pete and I have completely. I say, Pete, you remember it? And he goes, No, I have no memory of
Okay, so
that.
I
Pete,
won't ask you that because you don't have a memory of it.
well, him saying, I think mom's crazy. No, I don't.
Because he
No.
said you and he were behind a door, and you would listen to your parents fight sometimes. And you were younger, so.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
specifically remember
So
that.
we
No.
won't ask that.
I mean, I can make something up if you want me to.
No. This next one,
I need the question.
and I don't want to put any pressure on it. This is question.
That stuff's not coming off. It's supposed to be dry erase. It's not working too well, huh?
No, you know what? I just pulled this out of I don't have the right stuff, but the alcohol's working.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is actually I'm skipping.
working.
Because I have dry erase if you need it.
But this is not a dry erase board. This is a clapboard.
Oh, okay.
So it's different, and I do
Stuff.
have a dry eraser. It's just different.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm gonna bring in my clapboard next time. Because it's chalk.
Okay.
Right.
We're skipping five. We're
Just give
skipping
me this.
five.
Just give me the number.
So this is actually question 6.
Yeah.
On my script. You were
Maybe
awesome.
it's the alcohol.
And I don't want to put pressure, but I'm going to ask you.
This is a new question?
This is a question that I asked you before.
Okay.
But this is how you answered. I asked you. Your mom was known for her temper tantrums. Is that true? And you started with, and you have to say this again because it was awesome.
Okay.
You said she was a pain in the ass.
Okay.
I
was
mean,
great.
she ruined lots of Thanksgivings and Christmases. You know, my kids. You know, it's like Grandpa. Would you call it Grandpa?
Grandpa.
Grandpa
You don't have to say
in a
now.
room and family holidays. It was always volatile. It was always a volatile potential situation. I really don't care what you say after she was a pain in the ass, but she was in the pain in the ass was awesome.
Okay, so I'll start with she was a pain in the ass.
She was
Right.
a pain. Yeah.
The way you said it, she was a pain in the ass.
Okay.
So,
It's worse here probably than in Boston. I mean, because we're on the lake. And
He's in pain. I can tell.
do you want me to? I've got Zyrtec. Do you want some Zyrtec?
I took one earlier. You gotta take one every day.
I
That's what I take. That's what
Do you
I
want-
too. I took one earlier.
I can't take it. I have such a high metabolism on Zyrtec. I can't sleep. I'm like,
Oh, for you that wouldn't be good.
that's it.
That's what I take. I took one earlier.
But I have some eye drops if you want them.
Oh, that will make my eyes worse.
It would. Okay.
Okay. So question number
Okay.
6.
Okay, ready? This is gonna be question number 6, scene 6.
No, scene 1. Oh, scene 6. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, question number 6, scene 6. Take 1 in 3, 2, 1.
I hear your mom was known for her temper tantrums. Is that true?
She was a pain in the ass, is what she was. I don't know if you call them temper tantrums, but yeah, she could easily ruin lots of holidays. Her famous thing was walking out of the room and slamming the door, which is like, and my kids would be there and there'd be family there and there'd be Thanksgiving, Christmas. And I was actually really good at pissing her off. I knew how to like push the button, like, not set the table the right way, put the butter knife in the wrong way. And she'd like freak out and slam the door, run out of the room. And then it would be, Steve, you've ruined Christmas again. But, it was like, you had to get mom going like that again. So it happened quite a bit. And she was difficult in a lot of ways around that.
It was good. We're gonna
That
do
was-
one.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
No.
I can relate, by the way, to you because I was the person that got kicked underneath the table all the time.
Do you mind if you want to do it again?
No, I'm good. I
I
think
was
I
the
have.
problem child.
Is that good? Was that animated? I mean,
It
was
was
it?
perfect.
Yeah,
I
you-
love the way you started it.
You know what? You're terrific.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so for this next question, the only thing you need to say, I asked you, how difficult was it for your dad, as far as caring for your mother? And you started by saying he was caregiver all the time.
Question
And then
7.
Question 7, and you can say whatever you want after that.
Okay.
Because anything would fit after that.
Okay,
He was a caregiver all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
It's not that many questions.
It's okay.
It's gonna be question 7, scene 7. Take 1 in 3, 2, 1.
How difficult was it for your dad to care for your mom?
My dad was a caregiver all the time. He had to be a caregiver in lots of different ways. So it wasn't normal caregiving, which was like the medicine, like we talked about before, but it was also allowing her to also like cook and do things and not, doing everything for her. And that was part of it. He also had to care for her in an emotional way, in that, you know, she still wanted to go swimming. She still wanted to be 25 years old. She still wanted to be that blonde debutante in New York City, wherever she was. So as she changed and the dementia grew, he was really good at adapting and changing. And in a certain down way, he enabled her way too much. I mean, our sort of view is that the downside of how my dad did it is that he enabled my mom all the time with everything instead of setting any kind of boundaries for her.
Good, that was perfect, and I've got a place to put my diving pictures.
That was fantastic.
Okay, so
Oh, I mentioned swimming there?
Yeah, you
Oh,
did.
okay.
this thing stop recording.
Well, what stop recording?
This here. Do you have another car? 'Cause I think the car is full.
Do we have to do that last question over?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know at what point this stop recording.
So mention swimming again. That was great.
Okay. Well, you've got it on the big
We got
camera,
it
though,
on
right?
big camera, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the keeper. I'm pretty sure that's the keeper.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's no one's fault. I'm on the edge of it. Like I'm about to sneeze, like any moment. I had a really bad attack at like 8 before you got here this morning.
Oh wow. Well, you know, it's happening what how it feels. And the thing is that when you start blowing your nose, you start sneezing. You start sneezing even more.
Well, the other thing is you're in a different state and you're in a different place, so there's different kinds of stuff that
Well,
you know.
no, this is the tree that really kills me. That one right there.
What, maple?
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
the
there's
one.
2 maple trees right there, right?
That's the one. That's really good. That's a good job. So if I can, you know, if I'm picking you to say that there's no one of those trees, and to be honest with you, with the rain, it makes it better for me.
Yeah. The rain usually helps it.
Yeah, but what I can feel like a really hot, you know, like sunny day. Oh, okay. I wouldn't see that.
Well, I can talk to you about some of the other stuff if you want.
Okay.
Kind of like just prep you a little bit.
No, I don't want it. The more, if it's stuff you want me to answer in a certain way, then yeah.
Yes? You want to hear it now, or do you want to wait till I?
If it's stuff you want me to say exactly, I mean, let's wait. I think the more that the more I can do it on the fly, the more
Yeah,
the better.
I think you did the toughest ones at Dodge.
So this is fine for that.
Yes, this is the one that's full.
Yeah.
So
So it will be fine. This one will do fine.
Good.
It's a 10 class.
yeah,
We're not recording for
we're not showing you 4K.
and I'm not doing rock photos either, so it'll be fine.
Okay, I just want to alright, that should be fine. Are you gonna redo that question again? So that's 7, take 2. Right, Mary Lou?
Yes.
Okay?
Hang on. Sorry, sucks. You know, and it really smells. I'm gonna be getting high from this stuff. Okay? I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm gonna need it. Yeah.
I don't understand how that's not a dry eraser board.
Okay.
So is that a dry erase marker? Because
Yes.
dry erase marker usually comes off of anything.
It comes out of, and that's plexiglass. That definitely will come out of that.
You sure it's dry erase?
Yeah, this is dry erase. So 7, take 2.
But let me ask you a question. You say you have one, right? Can I try the one you have? Cause
Oh, well, after this one, we'll tell you. I think I have one
I'm
downstairs.
killing you with the alcohol. Yeah.
No, it's not that. It takes too long to, for you
Okay.
to erase the thing.
Are you recording the camera?
I am recording.
Oh, what's the first line you want me to say?
He was caregiver all the time.
Right. Okay.
Okay, this is gonna be question 7. Question 7, scene 7, take 2 in 3, 2, 1, action.
How difficult was it for your dad to care for your mom?
Well, my dad was a caregiver all the time. So he not only had to taking care of her meds and making sure he was taking all the meds right, but also with food, because my mom still believed that she could do everything she could do and that she was a blonde debutante. So she wanted to still cook and do all those things and go out. And he tried to enable her to do that as much as possible. She still wanted to be able to go swimming all the time, which she did up into her 80s, really close to the end of her life. And so he enabled her, but he had to care for her in pretty much everything he did with her and for her, because she had limitations in what she could do, and she'd forget things. So he'd have to really be a caregiver in every step of the things that they did together.
Perfect. I like that one even better.
Okay. Hold on for a second.
And I was just about to sneeze.
Go ahead, get it out.
No, I
Is this the next question, Mary Lou?
Question 8. We're going to take that 7 number 2. I didn't use the answer to this question, but I had asked it, and I'm just going to ask it again to see
Right.
what you're thinking today about it.
Okay.
Okay?
Then don't tell me what I said before.
No, I don't even remember because I didn't use it. And I don't remember why we didn't use it. But
Okay.
let's just see what
Oh, you're gonna wait until it's
Yeah,
actually
I'm
live.
just gonna
Okay.
wait.
Okay. Okay. Good.
You good? You want to take a break?
No. We are gonna need to get food soon though, because I'm getting hungry. I'll order some sandwiches for us. You guys getting hungry? I see a nod over there. Yeah. And look, like there's no.
I got
there's-
up wicked early today.
Yeah, you don't need to tough it out and it's ridiculous.
This weekend.
It's just me and it's the weekend, so come on.
All right.
Great. I loved your song in the beginning. It was beautiful.
Thanks.
Just
The
beautiful.
words are so perfect.
They're compelling. They work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're going to be pleasantly surprised when you see your brother's answers and your father. Well,
Yeah.
it just
Mary
blends.
Lou knows how to weave a story. She's been nominated 17 times for your work for the New England Emmys, the documentaries, right? Amazing.
How different they are all
It's
are.
just, yeah,
They
you
all-
guys
you
all
all
have your
fit.
own separate,
You're your own
Yeah,
separate,
it's
beautiful
just-
people. You're all different.
and it just
And
comes
what's-
together.
and
So
what's
what
like
other
crazy
stuff
is-
are-
I
I
have
think you can erase it.
no relationship with them at all.
That's crazy. It is crazy.
You have no relationship with them at all?
Not really. No.
I'm sorry.
Pete and Tim are closer together than I am. I mean,
Well,
Pete
you're
and
all-
Pete. When I came down there, I hadn't seen or spoken to Pete in over a year. When I came there,
Wow.
Okay.
that was like,
And you guys went out to dinner after, right?
yeah, we did. Yeah, we
'cause
did.
I think your
Yeah.
dad said he was going out to dinner.
Yeah, we did go out. And when I see him on Thanksgiving, but hardly ever speak to each other. He never calls me. I mean, we've since then. How long ago was that? 6 years?
but
6 months
that's-
ago? A year ago?
Yeah, but that's
No,
not.
not a year.
No, it was August 25th to be exact.
So it's almost a
yeah,
year.
that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, I
as long
think
as when
it
you
is.
see each other, you're nice to
No.
each other.
Well,
But-
no. There's
Well,
big-
we don't need to go.
big issues. Yeah, but it's about my mother. It has to do with my mother.
Every
My
family has issues.
my brother didn't. Both my brothers never had the balls to say to my mom how they really felt about the place in New Hampshire. They want to sell it.
Oh yeah, you told us that.
Yeah,
story.
you
did.
said
You
that
told us
last
that.
But that's
And-
not on. We're not.
We
We're not
didn't use
using
any of that.
You
no.
don't use that.
No.
No,
That
we
would
would
not be
never use
polite.
any of that.
And so, but I said some of that, so that whole,
Yeah.
I was in a pretty charged space about because
Oh yeah, I heard it, and I heard it over and over again because I was
Yeah,
reviewing the tapes.
we would never do anything to violate any.
No. This is just
anybody.
about.
Yeah, I know.
Your mother.
Yeah.
Your relationship. With
yeah, but like I said, like I remember saying this in the last interview was like, I'm maybe not going to say the things you want me to say. I didn't think when I got done, I thought all of my stuff would just end up in the cutting room
No.
floor.
No.
Wouldn't use any of it.
No.
Au contraire.
That's right. Ready?
1 second. Almost ready here.
Wait, need a new card? You have to like reframe the whole thing?
No.
The light is changing, I'm sure, and he's trying to match everything. Is that it? Oh, never mind. I'm not gonna ask you.
Yeah, we could ask me.
Okay. Is that it? So you know what the next question is? You all set?
There's no answer. We didn't use his answer last time, so.
But question 8 is the.
Yeah. So
Well, wait a minute. If you want me to answer, if I was answering it in a like a really negative way,
no,
and you want,
I think
it wasn't
was
one of those answers
more-
about my brothers and my
we
mom.
had sufficient answers, and you were
Okay.
kind of choppy with it. If I remember,
Okay.
that's why.
Well, we'll try it, and then
it didn't flow.
if you
It didn't
right,
flow.
if you hear something you like, then we can do it a second time.
Yeah.
If it's
Well,
choppy or.
using the clapboard because we're stopping.
Because if I don't have something to cover, if I don't have a cover shot, as you know, I have to take it the bite as it is. But if it's too choppy, I
Yeah.
can't use it.
Right. You
And I
can't.
think that's what happened with this particular answer. It was just too choppy, and I didn't have a picture or anything.
Right.
Because this is the part about your mother's abuse. I did not. We did end up getting more pictures of her dad that we used when your dad.
Do you have that picture of her when she was a little kid on the mountain with her grandfather? Do
Okay.
Oh no, we have that one. We have the one. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
you have the picture of the horse? I have that picture downstairs with her, the horse in
Do
the
we have a
field.
picture of the horse? Is that the one?
Yeah. Well, yes, we
I've
do.
got a
Ready?
5x7 of it
Guys?
downstairs.
Ready, people? Let's do this. Okay. And this is gonna be, question 7.
No.
8.
Question 8.
Sorry. Question 8. Scenes 8. Take 1 in 3, 2, 1. Action.
Do you think the fact that your mother was abused by her father, that was connected to her dementia anyway?
I don't think so, actually. But I might answer that question differently every time I hear it. But I'm
You
not
said
sure.
no last time too.
I don't think it is because, first of all, we don't know for sure that she was abused by her father. I mean, I have to take my dad's word for it that came out, I guess, near the end of her life. But I'm feeling, and maybe this is why it was choppy last time, but I think the dementia was, a disease that happened to her that's completely independent of what happened to her when she was young. I think she would have gotten dementia regardless of whatever happened in her life. I think that she struggled with male authority probably because of her dad, and whether he abused her or not, he was in the military, and she was this debutante New York person, and she was very outspoken, and that's why I've said before that I think that she lived a generation too early because she was working in New York City and she was outgoing and she didn't want men telling her what to do, and she lived in a completely male-dominated culture, society at that time. And so her father probably only accentuated that because supposedly he wanted a son that he never got, and she was a girl, and all of that, I think, together added to her whole frustration of having a difficult time, dealing with men at lots of levels. And then she had 3 sons.
I was gonna say, and then she had 3
And then she has
sons.
3 sons, and she has no daughter. Right.
Interesting. All right, that's good.
I don't know if you
I
can
feel
use.
that's
You might
good.
find something
I
in
like
there.
having the. Yeah, there may be something in there.
Right.
If we can squeeze it in, we'll do it. Okay, this next one you did answer. Is it true your mom's father wanted her to be a boy? And you said her father wanted her to be a boy.
Yeah.
Her father was in the army.
Right.
He was a football coach. It doesn't have to be answered just like this.
Okay.
Football coach, kind of a person, and that kind of a person. And I'm the only athlete in the family.
Right.
And my mom was always with me through sports and stuff, and she wasn't allowed to have that. So
Right.
basically, as long as you say her father wanted her to be a boy, and if it's short, we
Right.
should try to keep it short. It'll be good.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, this is gonna be question 9. Scenes 9. Take 1 in 3, 2, and 1.
Is it true that your mother's father wanted her to be a boy?
Yes, she wanted him to be a boy, and
Whoops, start again. Because you said she. He wanted That was your just.
Oh, do you need to do this over again
I
then?
do.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
it's okay.
Just
going.
just start by saying her father wanted her to be a boy, and then tell
Her
us
father
why.
her father
Wanted
her
her
father
do
her
take
father
care.
wanted her to be a boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then tell us why. And then last
Okay.
time you said something about he was in the army.
Right.
He was a football
Right.
coach,
Okay. Army.
And you were.
He wanted her to be a boy.
Yeah.
So I can say yes, he wanted her to be a
You
boy.
don't even have to say yes
Okay.
because
Okay.
I think.
Can we just keep rolling or?
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
no, she has to do the clapboard.
No, keep on going.
Can we go?
Yeah.
I think it'd save time
The,
actually.
you know, the clapboard is for audio synchronization between all these things, pretty much. So we have the first sync in there.
Okay.
So it's still rolling now. So
It's still.
And stuff.
rolling.
right.
Yeah. So just start with her father wanted to be a boy. So
Okay.
is it true your mom's father wanted her to be a boy?
Her father wanted her to be a boy. I mean, he was an army guy, and he was also a sports guy, and he had been a coach. And actually, after the army, he actually worked with guys and rehabbing them, and she very much wanted to make him happy. And she was very outgoing, and she was with me with sports all the time. She came to all my games, and she loved the Brooklyn Dodgers. She was a sports person herself, and me and her were the only two in the family that were sports oriented in any way.
Perfect. That was good. Okay, that was easy. Okay,
You got to get the Brooklyn Dodgers in there.
gotta
somewhere.
get the Brooklyn Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
The next one was we're gonna talk about your dad's stroke because he never mentioned his stroke in his script,
Please, I can hear that.
and then it came
So you
out
want the answer?
when I interviewed Gary, his friend Gary.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Gary Ruwine or something like that
Yes.
from Matt.
right, that's how I found out about it. 'Cause your dad
Was this not in the last set of interviews? You didn't do this. You didn't ask me this question before. You're saying.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you
I
did.
did, but your father never mentioned it. I learned this from other interviews
Okay.
that I guess I had before you,
Right.
and
So the question is,
about the stroke. Let me see what you said. I just want to try to think. Did we meet Gary before? How did I find out about the stroke? I forget now.
I don't.
'Cause Gary came afterwards, but I asked you about it because you answered.
No.
Maybe you said it in the interview, and that's when
Maybe
it first
that's
came out.
right.
Yeah, and then I asked the question now. Tell us about your father's stroke, because I want you to say the same thing. But tell us about your father's stroke, and you said I was there when my father had his stroke. My mom was alone in the house. I came up there. I had to find a nurse to come stay there. In-home health care. And the first two of them called up and said, "We can't stay the night. She's throwing shoes at me."
Right.
So if you could end by saying she's throwing shoes at me, because we've already created that scene of
Okay.
shoes coming down the stairs.
You actually threw shoes down
We
the
have
stairs.
that scene. It's
Oh.
awesome.
I mean, you went to the house and
We went to
shot
the house and shot that.
someone throwing a shoe down
Yeah,
the stairs.
We can't see who's throwing it, but
Right.
we see shoes coming.
Well, I
down.
heard my dad said that there's this actress woman from Peterborough Players that's going to
Perfect
be
next time. Yeah.
that's going to use be my mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this really eats up.
Okay.
Correct.
So let's go. We're
Okay,
gonna-
this is gonna be, how many questions do we have? So that the way I can.
We've got about 1, 2.
Well, can't you turn it off between?
No, that's
Well,
good
I
sync.
can do that, but it just,
Oh,
All right. Well,
syncs.
let's just.
Okay.
Can I just
Well,
do
we're-
it without the clapboard? Can we do it like we did last time?
Can we
Let's,
just keep in?
please,
rolling?
come
Let's
on,
not
really,
elaborate too
seriously,
much.
we're gonna run out of
Okay, let's
space in the cards.
I didn't realize that
I'm
it's an
waiting
issue.
for you.
Okay, and it's gonna be question 10, scenes 10, take 1, in action.
Tell us about your father's stroke.
Well, I was there, right after the stroke happened, and I got a call. I had to come up there, and I had to find care for my mom because all of a sudden, my dad was gone, and it was still very unclear about how it all happened and how my mom dealt with it right afterwards. And I had to find, as I mentioned, I had to find care for my mom, and so I started calling nurses and home health care people. And the first couple people came back and called me on the phone. I had gone back home, and they called me up and they go, "We can't stay." And I was like, "Well, why not?" And she goes, "Well, she's throwing shoes at me down the stairs." She goes, "These aren't my shoes. What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Well, is it really that bad?" She goes, "Look, I'm not staying overnight. You got to find somebody else to come like right now." It's like then I had to drive all the way back up there, and so it was very complicated. And the stroke forced me to step way closer into my mom's situation than I ever had been before.
Perfect. That's keeper. Okay, we're going to question 11. And this
I
is
wasn't
about-
too choppy.
Nope.
No,
Okay.
Because we
perfect.
have footage of this, so I can take anything.
You can cut
I
and
can, yeah.
And,
Right.
and we love the way you talk. I'm gonna get excited.
Yeah, I love that. is, so the next thing is tell us about Robin, and you just said Robin just allowed her to be herself.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, put any expectations
I
on
don't,
her.
okay, I don't
And
wanna
when my mother
snap
got
this
angry,
thing.
she didn't freak out.
Okay, this is gonna be question 11. Take one in 3, 2, 1.
Tell us about Robin.
So Robin was great. So after not having anybody that could really take care of her or deal with her, Robin let her be herself. And when she freaked out, my mom freaked out. Robin didn't freak out. She took it. She had obviously must have had some experience back and forth with dealing with this with other people. And she really allowed my mom to be herself in a lot of ways, especially she'd take her over to the cottage. And that was like almost my mom's dollhouse. And she was very good at allowing my mom to just sit and tell stories about what life was like when she was a child and reminisce. And when you have dementia, you obviously go back and remember more things about when you're young. So Robin was great at allowing that to happen and allowing my mom to, engage and be herself in a sort of unique way in her dementia.
Good.
Perfect.
I'm not gonna ask question 12.
Oh, okay. Just went
It
12,
wa-
okay,
It,
sorry
wa- it
about
was
that.
a new one. I'm gonna go right to 13. This is something that came out. Your father said that your mother thought she was God bless you, dynamic.
Thank you. Sorry.
Sorry again?
Dynamic. So always had-
Demon.
Dynamic.
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 Right.
Am I saying it right? Dynamic?
Dynamic?
It's
No.
a demonic.
Demonic.
See, I
Demonic.
was being dyslexic. The end of the M just,
Okay,
I knew it was wrong. Demonic.
And did I answer this before?
No.
Okay,
it's a
great. New question. Okay, great. Go ahead.
It'll be since 13. Take one in 3, 2, 1.
Your father said that your mother thought, everybody was demonic. Do you remember any of that? Or can you talk about that?
Why not? I heard my dad talk about this actually not too long ago, and I don't think I completely agree with it. I know that my mom, I would hear my mom sometimes talking to herself, like really angry kind of things, like, I'm kind of like, I hear her behind a door or whatever, even, close to her death when she was still living at home. But I don't think there were demons there. I mean, if she, was saying that to my dad, I never really heard that. I think it was just that she had a lot of, anger and a lot of frustrations about a lot of things in her life. And when she had dementia, it all kind of came out like a car, that was going at like revving an engine sitting still. It was all just sort of grinding and going around inside her. So to me, it wasn't a demon thing. It was more just that she had a lot going on that she couldn't get out and express in a good way.
Because he had a Native American intervention. Do you know about that?
Okay, so the Native American intervention was a friend of mine named Mark Sylvia, who I was best man at their wedding, and Margie, the girl she married, was my first girlfriend when I was like 8 years old. And Mark lived for 2 years on Lakota Sioux Reservation in South Dakota, and studied with a medicine man and poured water for a medicine man. And he came back and he did this intervention. And there's, I think the demon word can be used in a much more broader context than demons the way we think about it, especially from a Christian point of view. The Native American demons is, I think, looked at more like, whatever is going on inside yourself that you're struggling with through those cleansing things, or doing, going out into the desert kinds of things that they do, or cleansing in different ways, helps you take those demons out. So yes, that was definitely something that happened, and I think it was a great different approach for my dad to see of maybe how my mom was feeling.
Good. That was good.
Is the A7 recorded? I don't see the record button on. The record, A7, is that recorded?
It is recording. Yes.
Okay, good. It's
Was that
something
okay?
else.
That was perfect.
Yeah, question.
We have
That was a little long, but
That's
it took
okay.
that much.
I can
Question.
extract some good stuff.
I got a-
14?
Can I ask a question?
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's
Is
going
that friend of
14.
yours still around?
Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's back out living it. Yeah, it's
Mary Lou, question?
not a good. He's back in South
Number.
Dakota
Oh.
On the reservation.
So,
Is it 14?
so no way we
Well,
can
that was
recreate
kind of
That's what I'm
13 was
asking.
13.
Oh,
Tell me what
Mark?
number.
No,
gonna
you
ask-
probably couldn't. I mean, I could ask.
15.
Beautiful, that's all, yeah, you
What do we
got
gotta
it.
call
Because
you
13
up
and
to
14
recreate
kind of
that?
blended.
Doesn't matter, as long as you give me the number, I'm okay. You can give me
If we
whatever
want to
number
fly
you
him
want.
out from Dakota, but there's
Okay.
also politics there now too. So
We have a picture of him.
of Mark.
Okay,
I think so. I think it
I'm concerned about the memory
Did
in
it
the
work?
AS7.
Do you think
I
that
think it's
intervention
probably
worked?
gonna die.
Should we talk about that anymore?
Just keep your eye on it.
Well, I think it's
Yeah.
partly what you define as what worked. I mean, I wasn't there. All I knew is that it happened. Did it work? Was my mom all of a sudden not, an angry person anymore? No. So I would say it didn't. I mean, did it help with something? Every little bit helps. I think you'd have to ask my dad that a little bit more. But
Okay, so we don't have to go there.
okay,
So
15?
15.
15.
Is it on?
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay. It's gonna be question number rolling. Rolling all devices. It's gonna be question number 15. Since 15, take 1 in 3, 2, 1.
And this is a new question. How did you feel when your mother died?
Well, in the moment, right when I knew she had passed, relief probably more than anything, for her and for my dad, especially because my dad had completely given up his life for 5 years. And now he's like living like he's 20, and I was there with my dad. My other brothers weren't. I was there with my dad till about 11 o'clock at night, and then she was the dog
Let's do it one more time.
in the poppies.
It's okay.
No, because that's a great question, actually. Lizzie, come on. Come on, honey. Come on. Eat the chewies.
Let's have him start
Oh,
outside.
chewy.
You know what I mean? Just like you're gonna do one take and follow him.
You go up there.
Do it on the clapboard, do we?
No.
No. We're gonna
I
just
think it
follow him.
becomes more animated.
I know.
So I just shut her in the bedroom
And
for a
I
few
don't be
minutes.
editing.
But- I know.
Sorry.
Okay, see, what we're gonna do after this, we're gonna
Okay,
go
I was
outside.
too on
I'm gonna
the
follow
phones
you.
as-
We're gonna go
as
handheld,
shooting.
and I'm gonna follow you.
You gonna do handheld?
Yes, and we're gonna be asking just a question just as you are.
Okay.
normally, Okay.
Okay. We gonna do that again?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So,
Can you
is
just
it-
keep? Do you need another board, or can we just
Is-
keep going?
is it
We're
question?
gonna,
Okay.
this is 16.
Huh?
Oh, no,
That's-
15.
okay.
It's 15. This is
So
15.
is this take 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Man, these allergies are really acting up.
Yeah, okay. We're almost at the end.
All right, and this is gonna be take question 15, scene 15, take 2 in 3, 2, 1, action.
How did you feel when your mom died?
I felt relief for her and for my dad, because he had given up 5 years of his life more, taking care of her all the time. And sort of like I say in my song, she was finally released from all of the, the struggles of life. And I was there with my dad till about 11 o'clock at night in the home. And, right before you pass, you start sort of breathing heavily and there's no response anymore. And we'd hold her hand a little bit. And then the nurse came in and said, look, do you want to stay? And I said, Dad, what do you want to do? And I actually wanted to stay because it was pretty obvious she was probably going to pass that night. And my dad wanted to go. So I went with my dad and we drove back home, and we got a call at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and my dad came over and woke me up because I was staying in the cottage. And we went back over, and she had passed, and they had sort of dealt with her body a little bit. And my dad was, very at peace and very calm because it happened slowly over the course of the last few days. So it was more relief than anything else. It was sad a little bit, but it didn't really feel sad. It really felt that she was in a better place than she was because she had struggled so hard. And at the very end, in the last couple of days, she was in that nursing home, and I'd go and I'd play guitar for her. And she couldn't really respond very much, but she'd sort of growl a little bit. And I'd play guitar, and at one point I was playing one of her favorite songs, which was Peter, Paul, and Mary's song, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? And I started playing it for her, and tears started pouring down her face. And she couldn't really respond very, she could squeeze your hand a little bit. And then, finished, the song was over, and the nurse came over and wiped her face. And she was like, no, you don't have to, she was trying to rub her off. And she goes, here, Patty, have a little something to drink. And she went, fuck you, like this. She was right to the very end. She was like, tough old broad, like, don't mess with me. and it, you know, she finally was released of all that, and she could, you know, she could be, you know, free of that. So
Could you play a little bit of that song for us?
yeah.
Paul Mary?
Is that the last question?
No. Kind of like, is it okay? Or do you want to?
I like to do things in order.
Oh, so you
Get
want to
all the
wait?
questions,
Okay.
and then we can play
All
the
right. So
song.
we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. We're gonna do it at the end.
I think you'd it would have been better if he kept going, because you would have kept it
Yes.
in the moment.
Exactly. That's the reason why I wanted to. You know what I mean? I want to get all the questions in place.
Well, no, I'm
No,
saying
no,
if
no,
I
we're
had
saying
kept
play,
going,
play.
it would have been better, because I was in the moment. And see, you know,
I understand.
Okay. So let's talk about that song a little bit. You wrote for your mom a little bit, though.
do we have to redo the board or not?
It's
Oh,
kind of
let's-
affiliated
okay.
to what you were
Okay.
talking about. So
Okay, so in that, you can
What?
say, let's talk about the board, you know, the song. And, you know, when you finish, or you can actually either go to the song, but it's, but that's actually a new question, or that's actually
Well,
in the script?
I was going to no. Sometimes I get a question after hearing his answer
Yeah.
because I feel
Yeah, then just let it go. I mean, you can cut and edit
Yeah,
wherever you
we
want. You don't.
yeah.
No, the thing is that I actually have to kind of like watch my media, you know what I mean? So I got all the things.
He's
that I
watching
gotta
the
do.
card too. That's
So
what
I
it
got
is.
to plan.
He wants to make sure he
how
has
much I
enough
have,
room
you
on
know,
the
for
card.
actually for my recording and all this.
I get it. I get
Right.
it. So
I just found when I do these interviews, you know, corporate stuff, it's better if you just put the camera on and let it roll, because the more you get the feel of it, that comes through on the lens. But
yeah, I would love to hear him play that Peter Paul and Mary song. I could ask him a question about that and have him go into it.
well, let's keep going, because the card's running. So let's do
So,
something fast.
All right, let's do.
Let's do it his way, because that's how we wanted to do
Okay.
it. So
So let's talk about the song you wrote for your mother.
Okay.
The words are beautiful and they're very profound, and obviously they come from the experience. Tell us what made you write it.
Well, I wrote it for the funeral, but I had started it when my mom's birthday came up, and she was in the hospital in Peterborough, and so we had a birthday party in the hospital for her, and she was in a wheelchair in the room, and there were lots of people had come, and there were balloons and stuff like that. And I said, so Mom, I came in, I said, Mom, how you doing? And she goes, I'm doing great. And Mom was never great. There was always something going on that had to be dealt with in some way. And she said, I don't have to do anything. And that's really where it came from, that she felt completely released. She didn't have to go anywhere. She didn't live at home. She didn't have to deal with food. She didn't have to remember anything. And that was her big struggle near the end of her life, is she couldn't remember things, and she didn't have to remember anything. She was just living completely in the moment. So that's why it was called Living in the Moment. And that's where it came from. And then from there, the second verse is really my dad speaking back to her, saying, look, I need to get my life back, and, at the funeral piece of it. And then the third verse is really is her speaking, which is, I hear the angels calling me home, and her whole release of being able to be with us spiritually, but not be body-wise.
Perfect. Okay. Next question. So question number 17. We're going to talk about the funeral.
Just keep it rolling.
Okay.
Thank you. What was her funeral like?
Her funeral was great. It was a great celebration of her life. And, in all funerals, people always usually overlook all the difficult things in a person's life, and you celebrate the great things about her life. Although because everyone knew her, that she was a difficult person in different ways, it came out in sort of light, funny ways. But it was really special. When I played the song, by the end of the song, at the end of the chorus, which says, and I've been set free, I repeated that a number of times, and people started singing that back to me. And I probably did it 5 or 6 or 7 times. And that was a really special moment. I could feel her in the space. This is also, the funeral was in the church in Jaffrey Center that she had gone to, virtually all of her life. And it was very easy, after she passed, for me more than anybody else, I guess. She spoke to me a lot. There's a place close to here where I walk in the woods with my dog. There's one space down near a stream where I'd stop and I'd sort of just say a prayer about stuff, and she would speak to me there for probably 6 or 8 months at least. And that would always take me back to the funeral. So there was, wonderful readings. And interesting, my dad did not want to get up and do a lot of homilies and stuff and talking to me. He's a minister. You get him in a church, he's usually up there. And he really just wanted to sit there, and he let the moment come to him, I think, in some very unique ways. Both my brothers spoke and also played something. I played my song. And there were a cross section of some of my oldest friends that knew her from my childhood actually came. So it was a great funeral in that way. One exception. Well, it was great. It was funny though. When we went to bring the casket in, they locked the flowers in the casket, and they didn't have a key to the car, and they had to go back and get another set of keys. So like everyone's waiting, the organ is playing, and everyone's standing around going, wait, why aren't we starting? Everyone's sitting there. It's been like another 15. We had to wait like another 10 minutes for them to get back with the keys. It was just ironic. And we stood in the hallway out there with my mom's casket, joking about it for about 10 minutes. I'm sure she was laughing along with us.
And then the procession out to Amazing Grace, that was very touching. I watched the video. What was that like?
My dad and I had spent time with my brother, but my dad and I especially had spent a lot of time, because I do church services a lot, of, how can we end it? What should we do? And the Amazing Grace seemed like a great way to do it. And I think it's starting it off slow and then picking it up and making it more of a march, almost very New Orleans-esque second line, which I'm familiar with. It made it a very special thing. It took it from, if at all it was somber, which it wasn't, all funerals are somber in a certain way, but in a celebration of her life, it did it and made it a great closing, and made that procession celebrating her life even more, and everyone could participate. And that's another thing. Church, there's often that lack of participation, and this allowed her. And my mom, being a Sunday school teacher and someone that was avidly, fervently in favor of congregations being involved and not just sitting there, that celebrated exactly what she would have wanted.
Now the next couple of questions, something new that we found out recently. One is that she apparently ran out in her underwear out into the street. Are you familiar with that?
Well, yeah, I'm familiar with, because my dad would tell me, and I actually was really pretty frustrated with my dad, because he was her complete caregiver to a fault sometimes. And I had a number of family members, other family members, my kids, other people going, what's Granddad doing? He would basically leave notes for her, and he'd leave her alone, or he'd be working in his office, and she'd wander out of the house down the street a number of times, and neighbors would call and say, she's walking down the street in her underwear and her nightgown or something, and they have to go pick her up, which is really pretty upsetting. And I think, to a certain extent, my dad did everything he could and then some, which was great, but he really needed more help in certain ways, and we could never convince him of that.
I think from what, my conversations with him too, is like, he just tried so hard to continue leading a normal life with her, even though she was so sick.
Yeah, to a fault again, I think. He wanted to live a normal life, and he felt from the dementia side that the more she could live a normal life and the less she was just not locked up in a home or someone watching her every second, that's what he tried to do. So the downside to it was that she wanted. Now the good thing was that, they live out in the middle of nowhere, so it's just a neighbor calling her, and it's a dirt road, so she wasn't going to get herself hurt. But, someone should have probably been with her most of the time. But the trouble is she'd start to learn shoes to people. So, it wasn't always an easy thing to do. And my dad had to have some life of his own. So, yeah, that happened. There was an upside and a downside, I guess, in thinking back on it.
Now you touched on this a little bit already, but just by going through all the pictures, you had a pretty incredible childhood. You went all over Europe, lunch in Paris and Switzerland, and, on the beach in Paris, all of that. What was that like? Your mother seemed like, from the pictures, very loving, very organized, special lunches and all. What was all that like?
Those are some of my fondest memories, not only in Switzerland, but when we were young. There was one summer when my dad was studying in Boston, and we'd go down and do these picnics. He brought up the picnics, which was a great thing. So we would drive down to Boston to pick him up at the end of the week from the cottage in New Hampshire. And we'd stop at this same park all the time that had, slides and all kinds of park, great things for kids to swings to go on. And she'd pack these, perfect, like just the way her grandmother would have probably done it, a perfect basket, because she had that Victorian element to her that was a contradiction in a certain way, that she was so, modern and liberal in certain ways. But it was all the foods that we loved. She let us go and play and get out of the car and run around for a while because I was a real high energy kid, so she knew we couldn't just sit in the car for so long. And she'd have all this great food. We did the same thing in Europe when I was even younger. We'd have these picnics, and we lived in the chauffeur's flat of this mansion on Lake Geneva. So me and my brothers used to play, cooking and stuff in the woods, and then she'd bring down lunch, and we'd eat right down on the water by Lake Geneva. I mean, so those are the things that she was great at. She wasn't. I have nothing but great memories of all that. And I have very great memories of them getting along very well, and the whole European time was was a great experience for all of us.
Because one thing I think is important to stress too is that she was a very loving mother. I mean, it comes out that she was difficult, her personality was tough, but she was a loving mother.
She was a very loving mother, especially to me through all of my dyslexia and all of my struggle in my life. She was there for me all the time, no matter what. She would never give up on me. I was a complicated, troubled teenager who got myself into a lot of trouble, and they were both always there for me. But my mom would never give up on me in any way, no matter what came down.
One last thing, and I guess Joanne had did this with Peter the last time. It's not going to be in the video, but the awareness, a key to the dementia, a key to awareness. What do you think of the whole concept? Your dad's doing this, and maybe a way to promote it, your own little promotion.
Or how it can help families.
How can it, yeah.
Or how you think that this whole...
I think it's great that my dad's doing this first, and that he's stepping out, and at his age, he's, especially after my mom passed, and he lived for my mom for so long, and now he's getting to really do his thing, which he wants to do. But I think what this can help other families do is, my dad's sort of counseling approach to things, which is don't just give up on someone. And the whole mental health issue in America right now, I think this comes at that time. And if there was any time and way to promote it, this fits right into that issue, which is, because someone has a mental illness in some way, that doesn't mean they're no good and you got to lock them up, or you got to put them on so many meds that they can't survive in any kind of normal way. So I think the message to other families is there's a balance, but you can have someone with dementia in your home. You can, if you can get enough support and help, you can have great moments, because part of dementia is there are moments of clarity that my dad got with my mom many times that he would never have gotten if he had just put her in a home, which he could have easily done, and which most people in America do now. So I think that's the message. I think not giving up too early. I think being acutely aware of that the person's still in there, and how can you bring them out in certain ways. I mean, one thing that happens when you have dementia is you revert back and you do remember things from your childhood or your young adult life. Well, celebrate those things, bring those things out. Having picnics, when we would come up, and when we would see mom, when we did things that she knew and were comfortable with, like dinner, meal times is a very big thing, which is a very, traditional thing. We always, no matter what we were doing growing up, we always had to come back for dinner. There was no getting around that, no phones, no nothing. And dinner was very important, which is an old traditional thing, but it's a time for us to all talk. So, my mom would be there at dinner, and once the food was on the table and all the stuff was out of the way of getting dinner, you could really engage sometimes. And she'd talk to you like there's nothing wrong at all. And those are the moments that you probably would lose if you just said, oh, she's got dementia, she's got to go away.
Actually, I love some of this for the actual video.
You know what? That was friggin' believable.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just say something? And just but this interaction is what I have
Listen,
to do.
I know.
We can't, if we stop, we lose it. And
We
that's,
have a director.
I know, but I don't know, Miguel, if you agree with me, but it's just, I feel like
Miguel, did you get the difference there? Do you think that has an
No,
advantage?
the thing is that because we shooting with different devices, the editor needs some sort of point where she's gonna synchronize the audio. So that was actually my only thing. I'm totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, do you need to shoot with both devices?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you
We
know,
have that
I'm
other-
getting,
yeah.
you know, with doing this, I actually
Yeah.
do not need to go
It's-
back into, you know, to a loan shot
I
and to
get
close
it.
out because I
Right,
have a
right.
loan
But I
shot
think
here.
there's a balance between
There's
the
a
two. I was
balance.
fun to cut those, but what we just did,
Just did, because
you
then-
saw, because that was,
Honestly,
that-
you are better, most people are straight through.
Yeah.
But what I think what should happen to make it easier, when we change the card, then we do a sync and just let it rip.
Yeah.
That's it. Just
well,
do one
well,
sync.
what you need to do is you need to figure out how long the card will go.
Well,
And then you
that's,
can time
that's-
it. If you
that's-
turn it on and
that's-
you leave the
that is
card
not my
on.
problem. The problem is that I also have other things that I want to do outside in B-roll that I'm going to take.
Right.
And I want to make sure that I do have enough. You know,
Well, you got more cards, right?
These new cameras eat up.
They eat
They
up.
eat up.
All right, so let's
Okay,
So-
let's keep going.
do
So,
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah,
I wanna
good.
have
You wanna do
The
that here?
questions that we have is fine. But, you know, the things that I want to have is, you know, to be prolonged,
Right.
prolonged, you know, conversation in between.
Right.
right,
we
right.
can
Okay.
do that.
Do you have more questions?
Nope, we're done.
Okay.
Couple. Are we rolling still?
Yeah.
Okay, Peter, Paul, and Mary. Where have all the
Did you
flowers
want-
gone?
Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Young girls pick them, everyone. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? Where have all the young girls gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young girls gone? Married young men, everyone. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? Where have all the husbands gone? Long time passing. Where have all the husbands gone? Long time ago. Where have all the husbands gone? Gone to soldiers, everyone. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? Where have all the soldiers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the soldiers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the soldiers gone? Gone to graveyards, everyone. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time passing. Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time ago. Where have all the graveyards gone? Turn to flowers, everyone. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Young girls pick them, everyone. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? And my mom is that young girl picking the flowers. And that's how she saw herself. And Peter, Paul, and Mary were her favorite musicians and, you know, favorite artists. So
One other thing I forgot to ask was the stone for her grave came from, you know,
from Stony Crest.
How do you think, you know, is that a good choice?
Yeah, it was the only choice. It was the, you know, the place is called Stony Crest. The cottage, or the whole land is called Stony Crest because there's huge amount of stones, especially if you try digging a garden there. But you know, there's stone walls all throughout the property because 100 years ago it was all sheep farms and dairy farms in different ways. And those stone walls I climbed on and played on as a child, and it's still a very important part of the memories of her. So taking a stone from Stony Crest was the obvious thing to do, and the same thing I'll do for my dad.
was really good. One thing I'd love to get Miguel, he mentions, and you're up to it, Steve, is, you know, taking that walk. If we get our camera can follow you, taking that walk where you can.
Okay. This is okay. This is gonna be outside shoot with a lake in the background, which is beautiful. Oh man, I love this. You know, the tree, the water. It's just beautiful.
You okay?
Very, very nice. Okay. And ready? In 3, 2, and 1.
Your mother's care was intense. She had a lot of medication that she had to take. What was that like?
Well, it was complicated and difficult because she had so many medications. I didn't even know about it at first. I came up there one time and she kept all of her medications in the drawer in her bathroom, this one drawer. And she had to take different ones in the morning and different ones at night. And my dad basically administered all of it. So it was kind of crazy to sort of follow what was going on, and I didn't realize how complicated it really was. And then he would actually leave medicines for her with notes to take when he was out in the middle of the day. So overall, it was a pretty crazy thing to manage that much medication.
Describe your mother when your father met her.
Describe. So my mother was a blonde debutante, New York executive secretary, and, you know, living in New York City, and a Brooklyn Dodger fan. And, you know, going out and going to dances all the time, the Tommy Dorsey bands. I mean, she was living the New York City 1940s life, and 1950s maybe. And my dad was, you know, the nerd, science nerd from the suburbs in New Jersey who had, you know, he never dated anyone like my mom. I don't know how what they had, you know, what they saw in common with each other, but they met at the church. So the one thing they did have in common was religion. So, you know, and it was like, you know, the cheerleader, you know, dating the nerd from school, which, you know, never happens. I don't know what their friends must have thought when, you know, her friends met his friends. I didn't know how all that went, but they seemed to all get along fine. And so, you know, the stories they tell, and knowing New York very well myself, they found commonality through spirit and religion, and that was something that most other people, I think, their friends around them didn't have. So that's, I think, what connected them in a unique way.
From everything I've seen and heard, I mean, they were in love. And they were, oh, sorry.
Do me a favor. I need you to get something and kind of like sit down close to me so he doesn't look like he's looking up.
Oh, you want me to sit down?
Yeah, because you are.
Just sit right there.
Yeah,
And
that way,
I'll step. I'll be over here.
yeah, that way, you know, it look like.
Okay, better?
Like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. You see, I can see his eyes and.
Like this rather than this, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So your
Man, this is a beautiful shot. Beautiful shot. All right, stand by. Be going in 3, 2, 1.
Your parents were married for over 60 years. They were obviously in love. Do you agree?
Yes, they were very in love. You know, my dad was head over heels over my mom, always was. I mean, you know, she was the catch of the century for a guy like my dad, obviously. But also my mom adored my dad because my dad would do absolutely anything for her, and that's kind of the relationship they had, and that played itself out when she got dementia too, that he was always there for her in every way. He also enabled her in like every way, and I think she was the guy that she never had maybe as a father growing up and all that stuff that went on with her father. So, you know, they were very in love and had, you know, they had their difficulties and their fights and their struggles because they were so different, but they very much loved each other. Yeah.
And if you could just start this next sentence with, she was a pain in the ass. But
Okay.
Your mom was known for temper tantrums.
Yeah, she was a pain in the ass. And she was known for, you know, we call them temper tantrums, but there were a lot of times, especially on holidays and the family was there, where she'd get up, something would piss her off, and she'd run out, and she was famous for slamming the door. And after the door would slam, there'd be this silence for a minute, and then I was usually the one that would jump in and go, okay, I ruined Christmas again, or some, you know, something like that. But yeah, she had temper tantrums. She got angry very, very easily. And as a teenager especially, I knew really how to push her buttons, that I did probably more than I should. But she, you know, she struggled with finding balance in her life.
How difficult was it for your dad to be your caregiver?
I think for the most part, it actually wasn't that difficult. I think he didn't see it as like this, I have to do it, it's my duty because she's my wife. Partly, I think, because of his background as a counselor and a minister, that it came naturally to help people. And that's what he did anyway. And so why, of course, wouldn't he help his wife more than anyone else? So I think in the end, it obviously got difficult, as she needed really a lot of care. But I think most of the time, he enabled her to try to be the person she could be, without dementia as much as she could, and tried to celebrate and live the life they had. And so I don't think he found it really difficult. I think if he found it really difficult, he wouldn't have done it if it was too much.
And because he wanted to take care of himself, though, he was the caregiver all the time, which probably was challenging though.
Yeah, it was very challenging in that being a caregiver all the time, and he was willing though to sort of give the ultimate sacrifice. He was willing to completely sacrifice his life and what he wanted to do professionally in a lot of ways, personally in every other way, to take care of her and be there for her and give her whatever she needed. And that was a big sacrifice, but he was, because he was so in love with her, he was more than willing to do it.
Is it true that your mom's father wanted her to be a boy?
I think so. I think my mom always sort of felt that in some way, the way she talked about him. I never met him. I was told that I was more like him than any of my other brothers. And he was a football coach. He was in the military, and she was this gorgeous blonde girl. And she was also very much a tomboy, though. She told me a lot of stories about her being the tomboy in the neighborhood in Brooklyn and playing stickball in the street with other kids. And I think she did that partly because she got that inherently from her dad. And I never got to meet him, and I think we would have probably had a connection because of that.
Tell us about your father's stroke.
Well, when my dad had his stroke, I was there pretty much right after it happened. I came up right away, and I had to jump in, and I learned a lot more about what was going on with my mom, because all of a sudden I had to get people to take care of my mom because he was out of the picture, and I didn't go up a lot. I didn't realize how much my dad had really done. So I had to go, he went away to the hospital, and we'd visit him in the hospital a little bit with my brothers, but then I dealt with, okay, I got to find someone to take care of mom. And the first couple people were, call up and say, look, I can't stay the night. It's like, oh no, well, she's throwing shoes at me down the stairs and telling me that, you don't belong in my house and these aren't my shoes and my clothes and why is this happening? And so a couple of them basically just completely dropped out of the picture immediately. So it was a big challenge for me to try to fill that void that my dad had sort of completely under control. So it luckily I was able to jump in, but it was very complicated. So Robin was a wonderful, unique blessing in a lot of ways, in that Robin was able to allow my mom to be herself, and she didn't freak out when my mom got angry. She just let her be that. She obviously had some experience probably with her own family or someone dealing with, if not dementia people, difficult people. And she'd take her over to the cottage, which was sort of my mom's dollhouse in a certain way, and let her just talk about her experiences growing up and being there. And she was the best caregiver my mom ever had. And that actually really helped my dad, because it gave my dad the break that he very much needed to do. He was still working and to do the other things that he did. So Robin was a godsend and had a special connection with my mom.
From what I've been told, your mother said that she thought everyone was demonic and that she herself was demonic. Did you have any experiences with that?
Well, I didn't have experiences with that. And I heard this from my dad, but I don't really know how true it is or not. I didn't really feel that way. I felt that she was just an angry person that had a lot of stuff built up, and she was living in a culture a generation before she should have. She should have been born in our generation, and she was caught in a man's world, and she wanted to express herself in ways she couldn't, and she had lots of things built up inside her that she couldn't get out and she couldn't deal with. So I think she was just an angry person. I don't think it was demon oriented, but that was just sort of my opinion of it.
What about the Native American intervention that your dad had for her? Do you think that helped, or?
Well, I think it helped my dad probably as much as or more it helped my mom. I don't know. He was a close friend of mine, Mark Sylvia's, and he had lived on a Lakota Sioux reservation in South Dakota for a number of years and had studied with with a shaman and a medicine man, and poured water with him and learned quite a bit. And he came back and he did some Native American ceremonies, which my dad and mom really connected with, I think. And so I think any kind of spiritual connection or a spiritual release for them, for both of them, was really good, because they were spiritual people. But my dad has a doctorate in transpersonal psychology, which basically means open to every kind of religion, Eastern, Western, Native American. So I think it was good for them to do that, and Mark was happy to help make that happen.
How did you feel when your mom died?
Well, mainly relief, relief for her, of all of her struggles in her later years, but also from my, equally, if not more so, for my dad, because he had spent, 5 years or more of his life doing nothing but taking care of her, especially in the last couple of years. And he wanted her to be able to be released of this, and he then was able to be released. And now, since her passing, he's acting like a 20-year-old. He's out there making videos, and he's working and doing all kinds of really interesting things, and he's living life to his fullest. I mean, I call him up, I can't even get a lunch date with him because he's too busy. So her passing was, I was there, right in the evening when she passed, and I asked my dad if he wanted to stay all night when she would probably pass, and he wanted to go home, so I supported him, and we left, and then they called at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and we went back. And it was very peaceful. It wasn't overly sad. It was really a release in a lot of ways for all of us.
What was her funeral like?
Well, her funeral was really special. I played this song that I had written, that had started, I had started writing from the times when her birthday in the hospital. My dad was really able to sit there and really soak up all the people talking about it. It was really a celebration of life in a lot of ways. At the end of the song, when I mentioned in the song that she was set free, that's in the verse and then the chorus of the song, and everyone started singing it, and it made it a very special thing. And I think my mom was very much there, and it was in the church where she grew up, and the spirit was very alive during the service, and it was a good celebration.
What inspired you to write that song?
Well, as I mentioned, it came initially from her birthday happened when she was in the hospital. So everyone came to the hospital, and she was sitting in a wheelchair in a room, and they had balloons on the wheelchair. And I came in, I said, "Mom, how you doing today?" And she goes, "I'm great." And Mom very rarely, if ever, said that. And she talked about, I don't have to do anything, I don't have to go anywhere, and the advantage of being in the hospital, actually, which we really didn't get. It's like, oh my God, she's in the hospital. She didn't have to remember or do anything. People would bring her food, people would take care of her, and as long as my dad was around, it really made her, free of all of that stuff. So that's where the initial idea for the song came from. I've been set free, is that she's free of all of those, she could have no memory, but she could still enjoy living her life, and all the people around her that she loved were there. And that's sort of where the motivation for the song came from.
And tell us about the funeral. I mean, you had quite the unique procession going out.
Yeah, we did Amazing Grace at the end of this, and I'd spent some time talking with my dad about how to build the funeral and the service, and doing Amazing Grace at the end, where we started off slow and then we speeded up and almost created like a second line kind of thing, and a celebration, not this somber, the casket going out. And it really allowed everyone in the congregation to participate and sing and get up and move around. And my mom and my dad, especially my mom, was a Sunday school teacher and firmly believed that congregations should not just sit there, but should engage, and that's part of what the Spirit's really all about. And I think we celebrated in a way that she would have wanted to.
What about the stone came from her property? That was pretty special.
Yeah, it was. The property is called Stony Crest, and it's been in our family. It was given to my great-great-grandfather as a 16th birthday present when in 1875. And it was called Stony Crest because the amount of stones are on it, and there's obviously stone walls like most of New England has, because 100 years ago it was a sheep farm, and that's what kept the sheep in the fields before it was all woods. And it was just the obvious thing to do, to be able to take a stone off the property that will always, represent her. I believe the stone actually that her father has on his grave, which is just across in the graveyard, is also from Stony Crest.
And you said as a child you used to play on the stone.
I used to play on the stone. The stone walls have very special memories for me. I used to play on them. I used to play that they were, with my brother Peter, we used to play that they were trains, because the long stone wall, we'd sit in the front of them. There's one stone wall that was right outside the house. I used to walk down them, through the woods. I still can do them by memory in my head, virtually where every stone is on a lot of the stone walls.
So do you remember being on the boat to Switzerland and having adventures with your brothers?
Yes, my parents, one of the ways that they loved each other so much is they did crazy things like, my brother was 10 weeks old and me and Pete were 5 and 7. And we went to Switzerland, but they couldn't afford any way to fly. So we took a freighter for 10 days, which was crazy. But yes, there were only, maybe 10 passengers on this freighter. So I don't know if there were other kids or not. I don't think there were. We had the run of the entire ship and we got to know the captain. And I specifically remember going down into the kitchen, to the galley, and talking to the chef and finding out what was for dinner and dessert. And he'd let us always taste the desserts and stuff. I remember they had marzipan, which I hated the taste of, but I didn't know what it was, and I tasted it. But I remember running up and down the really steep staircases in the boat, and I have really fond memories. I did get seasick some of the time. I remember that also. But
And you had, a lot of adventures going through Europe. Your mom would pack these elaborate lunches, and you'd go picnic on the beach.
yeah, we used to picnic on the beach, whether it was in New Hampshire, going to the lake for the day, or we'd go to the beach in New Hampshire sometimes. And one summer my dad was working in Boston. We'd go down and pick him up every Friday with the car, and we'd stop at this one park somewhere down in Massachusetts. At the same park every week when we'd go pick them up that had swings, and she'd let us run around, and she'd pack these really traditional lunches because she had that traditional background because she was brought up in that traditional kind of way because of when it was. And she'd have these wicker baskets with all the proper plates and cups and all the food that we loved. And it was, she was a great mom in so many ways like that.
Is it true that toward the end she'd be outside?
Stand by. Stop for a second. Joanne, can you give me the reflector, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do you want the reflector, the stand that goes with it, or just get the
No, you
reflector?
just get the reflector.
I only have one more.
Yeah, she has one more because she's almost done.
Okay, I'm rolling. In 3, 2, 1.
Is it true that your mom used to walk around in underwear toward the end?
Well, really, I think what you're referring to is there were times when my mom would wander out of the house and just wander down the street, and the neighbor would call and say, Pat's walking down the street in her underwear or a nightgown. And that happened a number of times, which is a real concern because that's when my dad was probably trying to do too much. I mean, my mom really had to have someone watch her. And she would just take off and wander down the street. And luckily we lived out in the country, so it wasn't too bad an issue. But yes, that did happen a number of times. And I tried to call my dad and say, Dad, we really got to have someone watch her more than time. And he was like, no, I really want Mom to be able to, I don't want her watched too closely. I want her to be able to still live her life. So that's what that came from.
One of the things too that I saw in the pictures is that your mother was still diving at the age of 80. That was pretty incredible. So I guess you had an 80th birthday party for her?
Yeah, we had an 80th birthday party, but yeah, she still dove. We had the lake in New Hampshire that we went to. There was a lake club that had this diving with a board. It was sort of similar to this, only much bigger. It was a whole story tall, and it was an 18-foot long slide. And she would not only go down the slide on her stomach, but she would also, there was a diving board on the dock too, and she'd go off the diving board and do jackknives when she was 80 years old. And no one at the club, all the other old ladies, like, what are you doing? And she'd swim all the way out there, and yeah, it was a wonderful thing. She never wanted to give up.
Good, that's good.
Anything else you want to add to?
You want to ask him, what does dementia, keto awareness, how can it help families? You don't have to look at me, look at Mary Lou.
Yeah.
With the
Basically,
project.
What we did in the end last
Yeah.
time. What do you think about the project?
I think the project has it's great for my dad that he can celebrate her life in a certain way, but because my dad's a minister and a counselor, it's taking his professional skills and putting them to use. And I think the takeaway and what he wants to be able to portray to people out there and give to other families is you don't have to just fill them with meds or stick them in a home, and that if you can do the caregiving, there are lots of moments of lucidity and times and special moments you can have even when they have dementia. And it's just a different way of looking at it, and our culture is very much just the generic family at home. You don't have your grandparents live with you anymore. And I think it's also taking that into account, as if you're willing to have your parents live with you or a dementia person live with you, there are great moments, and there's a balance between living a normal life and also being able to do that are great.
Yeah, one of the pictures that we have, your mom's dancing at a party.
Well, you know, she actually taught my dad to dance. She could jitterbug, like seriously jitterbug. What she did when she was growing up in Brooklyn and, you know, going to dance parties when she was a debutante in New York, and she still did it really late in life. So yeah, she would still get out there. I mean, you don't have to have any memory. I mean, if you put on Glenn Miller music, she was up and going. I mean, she doesn't need to have any memory to know that. So there's lots of places like that that you can celebrate life. And it's learning how to deal with the balance and not being scared of it. And I think our culture is very much, you know, looks at dementia as, you know, you have to put people in homes and you have to put them away. And I think that's just starting to change with the whole issues that are going on right now with mental illness in America. So I think it comes at a great time.
Great. Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
I wanted
Thank
to
you.
take some B-roll of you just hanging out. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Thinking up there.
Up here, on here?
Yeah, just hanging out. You know what I mean? Looking
Okay.
at the water.
Down the slide. No.
That'll be
Well, if it was tomorrow, I'd swim out there and I could, you know, do that.
Steve, all I want is to act like you're thinking about you,
Right.
maybe your mom.
Mom.
Just
Okay.
normally. You know what I mean? All right?
Yeah.
Just stay there for a second. Stay there. Yeah.
I never knew it would be used as a camera platform. Oh, you got the high tight shot, huh?
There you go. Yeah, I want you to look
Yeah,
up.
the sun is starting to come through.
Yeah, I want you to look up to the sky. Very subtle look. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Stay right there.
A little more.
Yeah, no more. This is a great story. You're gonna walk away out of the scene, okay?
You want me to walk away?
Yeah. So hold on a second. In 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
You know what? Yes, you are such a special guy.
Oh, stop.
I have something to tell you.
You probably say that to all the guys, right?
I don't. I have something to tell you.
Well.
This.
That's it. Just do things in there. You know, just
Oh, just do stuff?
whatever you do. Yeah.
Okay.
Do it again, because I want you to just walk by.
Okay, I'll walk that way. Okay.
Yes, please, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to go out in the woods or not?
Yes, let's go in the wood.
You still
Okay.
wanna go in the woods? Come on, Joanne, you can do it.
Oh, come on, Joanne, let's go. You stop playing with the phone and walk.
This is good. I didn't go to the gym this morning.
Couple miles, it'll take us 40, 50 minutes. Really?
Do me a favor.
What?
Can you do that again, please?
You gotta wait for him anyway.
Yeah, you can just walk by me, okay? Okay.
Come on, ladies.
You can walk like few steps and then walk into.
We're watching you.
Recording
Go.
and go. I'm gonna do it again.
You gonna go across?
Yeah, I'm gonna go across. But I'm gonna do it again. And you can just
Okay, so you want me to carry it across?
No, I want you to. No, I'm good.
No, you sure?
I'm positive.
You do this kind of stuff?
Trust me.
Oh,
You know what
okay.
I mean?
This doesn't bother you? Okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm a city guy, but I grew up like, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
on the countryside a lot. All right, so I want you to go
Okay, stop.
and come back again, okay?
Okay.
Hold on.
No, he's fine. This is the second shot. We're already.
Okay. In 3, hold on a second. I'll let you know. In 3, 2, 1, action.
Okay.
Okay.
You
one
guys
more
can
time.
come down now.
Let me do it one more time.
No, come right to here. I want to show you this. This is the spot right here.
Just stay there for a second, please.
Oh, they want you.
Girls, stay there.
What?
Okay. And 3, 2, 1, action. Stay right there. Stay right there. Right there. Just in the same position. I used to have one of those enduro dual bike.
Mm-hmm. Mountain bikes?
Well, actually, it wasn't a mountain bike. It was one, on those off-road.
Yeah.
They call them dual bike because you can use it, normal traffic.
Right. Right.
Also off-road. And my favorite thing to do was actually to just take off and go to the mountain with that thing, and come out to a river like this and just spend my day praying and you know what I mean, and having fun. Okay, you want to go down one more time? Stay right there. Great. All
Okay.
right.
Come.
Just my toes.
Oh. You just have to look out for the big black snakes.
Guys, be quiet, please. I need the water running and all that. Quiet on the set, please. In 3, 2, 1.
I'm gonna hold your back so you can, if you want to lean back a little bit, you can lean into my arm.